في طعام جاي. لا تشيل هم يا عزام، في لك اكل جاي، لا تشيل هم. يلا اوكي، يلا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أفضل الأنبياء والمرسلين. So welcome to your masjid, welcome to Al-Mutawwi'. This is one of our events that we run every few months for the children, for adults. We bring them all together to address a specific aspect of Sharia. So we've done Hijrah, we've done Hajj, we've done fasting, Ramadan, we've done Salah, we've done various aspects. We've done Isra wal Mi'raj, we've done also Isa al-Masih, to explain why we don't celebrate Christmas and all of those things. So all of these contemporary items that address the needs of our youth, so that Islam and the Sharia, especially aspects of their life, is always linked to their aqidah, and that is what we focus on. Alhamdulillah ta'ala. You're all, Jazakumullah khair for being here and for giving us the time. So there are some rules. There will be plenty of questions. The way we do this is there are questions, and then we do answers and we help everybody think. And the work then, what actually happens with all of that is that what we try to do is that if there is a question, don't just shout, put your hand up, so that we can manage everybody and address everyone, and and all of the aspects of the event is then managed. Sorry, all of the aspects of the event are then managed properly. Okay, so today is about tahara, and at-tahara in English is purification. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to us about purification, and He says, ما يريد الله ليجعل عليكم من حرج ولكن ليطهركم وليتم نعمته عليكم لعلكم تشكرون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He does not want to burden you, but to purify you and complete His favor upon you. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us in terms of tahara. So, what is tahara? Yeah, a lot of people talk about what is tahara, what is tahara. So who can tell me what you think of what is tahara? What does it mean? Anybody know? Anybody know what tahara is? ما هي الطهارة? What is tahara? By the way, there's no wrong answer. It's not a competition. Okay? Anyone? Tahara? Okay. So let's start. You're gonna be a bit shy today with me, are you? Okay. So let's start with the Arabic word tahara. Tahara in Arabic means cleanliness, and that you are free from any contamination, any pollutant. So any pollution, any dirt, tahara means in Arabic, just the language, before we talk about Sharia, it is about doing that in that specific way. I think some of the colors are probably not coming up too nicely on the projector, so I apologize. But what is it in fiqh? In fiqh, it is the lifting of the ritual impurity. So there is an impurity that it may be caused by us, by our bodies, and we have to remove that impurity. What kind of impurities can happen? Anybody know? Anybody? What kind of impurity? What kind of impurity? What happens when you go to the toilet? Is that clean or impurity? Impurity. That is, you pass urine, you pass stools, that's an impurity. And then also, there is also the other impurity, which is the najasa, which is najas. and that comes from items that are themselves pollutants or polluted, such as blood is najas. So these are the things are the ones that we need to look at and understand in terms of tahara. Tahara also, when we talk about the ritual impurity, it is when you come of age and you reach a certain age, and then you start to pass semen, mani or madhi. That, whether it is us as men, it will happen to us. You reach a certain age, these things will happen because this is our bodies. They will pass these material, these things. Now, very interesting about mani and madhi, there is a third one called wadi. So mani, madhi, and wadi. 3. Now, mani and madhi will happen when someone is, their feelings are aroused. Yes, this happens. Men will see a woman or will think about something, it will agitate inside us. Okay, I'm going to talk frankly to you, your boys. Okay, this is happening to you now. As you grow up, as you get to start getting these feelings and these instincts, these are real things in us. Allah created in us. What I want you to think is that when Allah created these instincts in us, He created it because to show us that we are weak, that we are limited, and that we are needy. And that tells us that we are created by someone else, by Allah, more powerful than us and complete and one. And we are weak, we are limited, we are in need. But also gave us those because then that is how we get married. We find a woman, we get married by the sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ, and we have children. And these are the things that I want you to start to think about. I know they probably teach you this in the English schools, but they're not going to teach it to you from a Sharia perspective. They're not going to explain these things to you from a perspective of understanding the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what Rasulullah ﷺ has instructed us and how it then affects our life. I'll give you an example. If somebody passes semen, mani is passed, and he goes into Al-Haram in Mecca, you know what happens to him? You know it is haram, correct? Okay. But he has to slaughter a camel. And if he did it intentionally, if he did it by mistake, he slaughter a camel. If he did it intentionally, that's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's even worse. So this is why we need to know. You cannot perform salah without then having to have done ghusl. So this is why we need to understand and recognize what it is. So we have mani and madhi. Those two come out when we are aroused. Mani is tahir, is pure, but you have to have ghusl. Madhi is najas, but you don't have to have ghusl, you have to just wash the part. Ahkam sharia. Somebody would think, why? Why is it like that? This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered. And when it comes to ibadat, in fiqh we know it as tawqifi. That means we accept it as it is. Because already we have said, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and we know that this is the order of Allah, so we stay at it and we accept it. So, mani and madhi will come to all of us from the perspective of when there is an interaction with with the female or see females, or it can happen. Now, wadi is something that is also passed by a man, but it does not require arousal. it can happen because of a mechanical issue or an infection or an ailment or even naturally. That only requires you to wash the part only. There is no, but you cannot perform salah because it is known as also as najas. So then we know that we have aspects that we need to do to be able to get ourselves back to purity or purification, back to tahara. There will be ghusl if it is mani. If it is a situation whereby, for example, there was an incident that a man during the days of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who was ill and he had a fever and he was traveling with two other companions, so three of them. And in the middle of the night, when he woke up for Fajr, he was ill, so he had a fever, he had a bad fever. When he woke up for Fajr, he said to the people with him, I have passed urine during the passed mani during the night. You know, sometimes when you have a dream, you can have a dream and you can pass mani. It can happen. And that is coming of age. You will know it because one night you will get that. That would be the first time. Now, they said to him, oh, but you cannot pray. You have to do ghusl. He said, but I'm ill. They said, no, you must do ghusl. So they forced him to make ghusl. He washed his head and his whole body and he did ghusl. The fever increased and he died. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لَقَدْ قَتَلُوهُ. They killed him. Why? Because they did not tell him that you can do tayammum instead of ghusl. Because he was ill, he could have one of two things. Done ghusl up to his neck and then did tayammum for his head, or he could have done tayammum only. And tayammum, anybody know tayammum? You've heard of tayammum? Hey, Habib. The what, sorry again? With a rock, yes. With a rock or with dirt, with sand. Yes. Very good, mashallah. Good, well done. So tayammum, ghusl, there is two types of ghusl. There is ghusl sunnah and there is ghusl obligatory. What's the difference between the two? Anybody know? Ghusl sunnah and ghusl obligatory. Obligatory, you mean? You have to do. But when? When does it happen? Anybody know? Ghusl obligatory. When you need to come back to tahara, you have to have the obligatory. And the sunnah, ghusl sunnah, the ghusl you do every Jum'ah. Every Jum'ah, that is sunnah. Okay? So, there's also things like madmada. You know, when you wash your mouth, you know, you've got wudu, but you ate food, and you're going to come to salah. Either you rinse your mouth with a bit of water, or you do go to the toilet and you wash your mouth. So not when you're doing salah, some food, you're thinking about the food you ate. Okay? All right. So, tahara is three parts. I want you to think tahara in the widest sense. The first tahara is a tahara of the heart. Tahara of the heart. And that tahara by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ لَمْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَن يُطَهِّرَ قُلُوبَهُم. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the kafir there, that Allah did not want to purify their hearts. And that is one aspect of tahara. And a lot of people in fiqh will say that somebody who has not purified his heart, purifying his body is not going to make any difference. Yeah? So if your heart is not pure, why are you purifying your body? You know, your heart is got kufr inside and it's got hatred inside, so why? That is an opinion. We cannot judge people, huh? Remember. So, tahara, the second aspect of tahara is the tahara from the impurities or the foulness, najasa. And these are things we can sense, whether it is urine, whether it is stools when you go to the toilet, whether it is blood. or whether it is dog and pig pollutant. Yeah, you know, if a dog his saliva comes on your plate or on something or on your clothes, this also then is najasa. You need to follow the rules regarding that. And that can only be performed using pure water. And if you don't have pure water, then through tayammum. Now, the third part of it is that where we lift al hadath, which is the ritual impurity, which we said is the passing of semen, etc., and the removal of the impurity. And the impurity could be after you've gone to the toilet, there is urine, there is stools, those kind of things that you need to remove. Okay? Now, who can tell me the difference between the major and the minor hadath? الحدث الأكبر والحدث الأصغر. Anybody know? حدث الأكبر والحدث الأصغر. From a fiqh perspective, this is fiqh terminology. So الحدث الأكبر is when you pass semen. So when you have intercourse with your wife or you have a dream and semen, mani is passed. That is known as حدث الأكبر. Why? Because it is obligatory to do ghusl. الحدث الأصغر is farting, you know, gas and or blood. If there is a lot of blood that comes out, that will be then najas, and those are known as al-hadath al-asghar. Okay? All right. So, in fiqh, we always say lift the hadath, which is raf'ul hadath, and then remove the najas, izalatul najas. Because the najas you can remove, because sometimes if you get blood, you can just scrape it off the area that it was, and you can wash that with water, and that will be enough. Or if it's on your clothes a little, you just rub it out, wash it with water, and that's enough. So that you can remove. If it is madhi, you then wash that part. But the hadath, you have to lift it. And the only way you lift it is through ghusl or through tayammum. So anybody know about tayammum? Who knows about tayammum? Aywa? But how? Okay. Rock and what else? What can? Dust. Yes. Dust and earth that has what? It has to have, so that when you do that, what happens? The dust will come up. Yeah? Okay. All right. And how? Anybody know how to do tayammum? Who knows how to do tayammum? You know? Huh? Yeah, but what do you do first? What's the first step? You rub your hands on it, yes. Okay. And if it's not a rock, if it's dust, then what do you do? 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then you get the dust in your hands. And then your face, and then. Yes. Okay. All right. Ghusl. Who knows about ghusl? We explained what is the difference between ghusl obligatory and sunnah, so you know that. But how do you do ghusl? Anybody know? We'll explain that later on. We'll talk about that. Okay. And so those are the different tahara methods. Yeah? All right. So then let's move on. So what is it that actually makes us pure? What gives us tahara? Apart from tahara of the heart, that is iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? Let's talk now about the tahara for the body. What gives us tahara? What is it? Not the actual action, But what is it that gives us tahara? What gives us tahara? You all know. You drink it all the time. Water. Exactly. Water is what gives us purity. And it has to be pure water. Okay? All right. So it is both the lifting of al-hadath and the removal of the impurity, which is the najas, is done using water. Now, pure water, what is pure water? Anybody know what pure water is? Yeah, but what? Any clean water? What does clean mean? What do you think, Ya Dhahabi? No, a bit more. Come on, we're talking Sharia now. The water that comes from where? Sky. Rainwater. What else? The ocean. Ma'ul Bahr. Why the ocean water is tahur? That's a condition, but why? Rasulullah ﷺ said, but Rasulullah ﷺ said what? At-tahuru ma'uh. Yeah, so Rasulullah ﷺ said, At-tahuru ma'uh. The water of the sea is tahir. Yes. Okay? And because what the brother basically said is it comes down from the sky onto the big oceans and the rivers, and it's always moving. It's always moving. It's not stagnant. It's not blocked in a small pond or anything like that. Okay. So, water of the oceans, the skies, what comes out from the earth in terms of springs. Also, it could be snow. Yeah. So a lot of brothers that I know that live in northern Europe, where in some areas where it's snow all the time, there's no water there, there's only snow. And at Fajr time they go and collect snow and they boil it and warm it up and they use that for wudu. Okay? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about it is that the ocean is of pure water. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to us that He caused rain to descend on you from the skies to purify you. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent us this rain for. Okay? And there is a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in part of his dua where he asks, Allahumma tahirni bithalji wal barad wal ma'il barid. You know, purify me with ice and snow and cold water. Okay. So what can we do when there is no water? Tayammum. And who said we could do tayammum? Who said? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But there is more than that. It is also mentioned in the Quran. Is it not? Anybody know the ayah? يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم. And then continues فلم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا. مش كده؟ And if you do not find water, so if you're traveling or you had intercourse with a woman, with your wife, and you need to do ghusl and you can't find water, then you can do tayammum. فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا. It's directed to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran to that of what we can do. So tayammum has one major condition, which is what? There's no water, or that you are ill and you cannot use the water. Okay? So that's the condition. The condition is that water may be present, may not be present, but it is you as a Muslim are either cannot find it or you cannot use it. As I mentioned in the narration regarding the man who died by doing ghusl when he shouldn't have. So when water comes in, things like vinegar, rose water, anything from plants or trees, this cannot be used to remove al-hadath. We cannot use that. I don't think anybody wants to use vinegar, but anyway. It could be painful. But any of that is not. And the reason for that is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and if you do not find pure water, lam tajidu ma'an. So the condition, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that there is no water, pure water. The water that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has confirmed to us that is available and allowable for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this tayammum then an obligation upon us, so that we can come back into a state of purity, so that we can then perform all of the things that we want to perform for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salah, reading Quran, etc. It then becomes, when a situation like this, especially in ailments or illness, or that maybe all what you have is vinegar or rose water, then you cannot do wudu. And therefore, what you can do is do tayammum. So either if you are trying to come into from al-hadath al-akbar into a state of purity, or you've gone to the toilet and you're trying to come back into a state of purity, then you can do tayammum. Okay? And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us. That He, by saying, He caused rain to descend on you from the sky to purify you. And therefore, it's the purification happens with water. But in this case, the substitute is tayammum, because of the conditions that we found ourselves. So, think of me, what is mixed water? What is mixed water? And can we use it for tahara? First thing, what is it? What is mixed water and can we use it? The answer is maybe. And it depends. There are conditions. So, first condition is, does it overwhelm the water? Is it so much that it is more than the water? Does it change the smell of the water? Does it change the taste of the water? Does it change the color of the water? First condition. And is it more than the water itself? So sometimes there is a little bit of water and a lot of najas comes in, or something different comes into it, more than what it is. And the other thing is, the third one is, can water be protected or is it natural? We know, maybe I think all of you have grown up here. You probably don't know our homelands, but we know that sometimes you have water where there is a lot of dust will come. There will be a lot of, the well will have a lot of dust, rocks, things like that. Sometimes the donkeys will come and drink from it. Yeah? Probably people, the young, oh, a donkey now. How can we use the water from a donkey? Okay? These things happen. So we know that is possible. Also, what's possible is that if you think about it, sometimes in the we have channels for water to distribute, And what will happen is you will have algae. You know algae, the green moss and green algae that will grow in the channels. That's natural. That does not change the water. And you cannot remove it because it will grow. Okay? So that's the third thing. So I'm sorry about the colors. You probably can't see it. It's very nice on the screen, but not here. Now, if water became mixed with something pure and remained unchanged, so if the water gets mixed with something and the water remains unchanged, then because the other item that came into the water is a small quantity, then that does not change the purity of the water. The water remains pure. So its quantity, smell, taste, the color has not changed. And as I mentioned about the natural elements, dirt, maybe even chlorine. You know, sometimes you go into these big swimming pools, etc., and there is chlorine. Or even in the big water tanks, in these here in this country, you have pressured water into the house, but in our countries you don't. You have one big water tank, and they use gravity to flow into the houses. That water up there they will always add chlorine to it to keep it fresh. That does not change the water. However, flour, za'faran, saffron, things like that changes the taste, smell, color of the water. And therefore, that cannot happen. So the fuqaha, maybe one of a few things that there is ijma' between all of the schools of thought is on the question of water, is the taste, color, or scent of water changes, then it is impure. Okay? Yes, but that does not change. You can smell it if it's very strong. However, it's not something that is it's a chemical rather than a food part that they understand. Okay. So people always ask me this question. So what does Islam do about sustainability and about water preservation and these kind of things? So there is a big place in fiqh, in tahara, called isti'mal, which is the reuse of water. And can we reuse water is a question that that is always often asked, and the fuqaha have written an extended amount of information about it. Let me explain some of it for you. So we know there is, in the water that we use for tahara is two. Either one which lifts the hadath, which I said, ghusl, yeah, and the other one is the one that removes the impurity, which is urine. You wash your private parts after going to the toilet. So the water that's used to remove ghusl is not made impure. You do your ghusl, it does not make you impure. So if used for wudu or ghusl, yeah, so now you go back into purity, you've done ghusl or you've done wudu, that water is not impure. You can reuse it. But what can you reuse it for is the question. Again, the fuqaha have put conditions. What it can be reused for, if you've used water for wudu and or ghusl, it remains pure, it remains tahir, but it's not purifying anymore. So you can use it to wash the dishes, you can use it to wash the car, you can use it to wash the stairs, you can use it to wash the bathrooms, the floors, you can use it to wash, reuse it. There's no problem reusing it. But it cannot be used by someone else for wudu. Yeah? Okay? Is that clear? Before somebody says, oh no, how can we use this water? And somebody has washed their backside or something with it. How can we use it, right? All right. But there is another condition, which is the condition of qulla. A qulla is 24 gallons. 2 qulla is the minimum for water to retain its purity. So if it's 48 gallons, 48 gallons is a lot of water. Huh? You know how much 48 gallons is? How much is a gallon? How much is a gallon? How many liters? No, that's too much. Half. 5 liters. 1 gallon is 5 liters. Right? So 48, you're talking about 240 liters. So 240 of those 1 liter bottles. That's a lot of water. Yeah? So if the water is so much, then all of this does not apply, because the water is more in quantity than anything else, and therefore what was originally there overwhelms any impurity that's come. Yeah. I think we've gone through wudu and tayammum, yes? Okay. So let's go here. So what nullifies wudu? What breaks your wudu? Any gas, yes. Noisy one or quiet one? Both, yeah? Okay. What else? Going to the toilet, so passing urine, yeah? Or stools, yeah? Bleeding, if it's excessive, okay? So if it's just on the same spot, then you just wash it with water. But if it's a lot of blood, that's different, yeah? Now, what else? You said sleeping. What type of sleeping? Deep sleep? Any sleep. Any others? Who can tell me? That's very interesting. Hold on to that one. Now let's keep with sleeping. We'll come to vomiting in a moment. So deep sleep, any sleep, lying on my backside. Why? Exactly. So if you sleep, even if you're snoring and you're sitting down, sitting on your bum, then there is no way you can pass gas. Right? There's no way you can pass gas because you're sitting on your bum. And therefore, it does not nullify the wudu. Sleep. Yes. Yes. You can if you want to refresh. But if you sleep, even deep sleep, and you're sitting down.
How do you know that? If you deep sleep, how do you know if you pass or not?
That's evidence. They said you don't have to.
That's what you learn back home. If you can't remember,
yeah.
you have to have
True. If you're on your backside or on the side or on your face and you deep sleep, yes, you have to have wudu for sure. But if you do it sitting down, you don't have to. That's an exception. It's an exception. So, yeah. Fiqh is like this. Sometimes you think something that doesn't make sense, but there is evidence for it. There is hadith reported on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So anything that exits from the front or the back, yeah, front or back, it will break your man or woman nullifies the wudu. Now, whether it is excrement, whether it is urine, whether it is gas, whether it's blood, whether it's stone, whatever it may be that you're passing, you have to do that. Sleep nullifies wudu, and loss of control of one's mind outside of sleep. So somebody who goes all of a sudden gets so angry he loses his head. Yeah? If you're arguing with someone and you go into a fight and you lose your mind, you have to do make wudu again. Yes, because you've lost control. Yeah, you've lost control. You have outside your mind. Losing control of your mind, you have to make wudu. Now, touching, man touching a woman, and this touching there is ikhtilaf. There is ikhtilaf on the touching. I think he's here. Yeah. Huh? Probably another 15 minutes. So, what was I going to say? Yes, touching. So, touching a woman, there is, of course, ikhtilaf. There is difference of opinion between Hanafis, Shafi'is, Hanbalis, and Maliki regarding what is touching. Definition of touching. And each one of them has very strong evidence. And therefore, it is one of the areas where this difference of opinion is absolutely 100% valid. So for the Hanafis, touching means actually sleeping with a woman. Okay? Whilst for Hanbali and Shafi'i, it is touching, but touching with the palm. The palm of your hand has to touch the other part, like this, or like this. The palm.
On the body or on the clothes?
No, not the clothes. Has to be.
Body.
It has to be body. It has to be like this. Now, the condition is the touched and the touchy. Yeah, the person who makes the touch and the person who is touched. So, somebody palm of their hand, myself, yeah. So I do this to a woman, yeah. Then she's not her. It's not her problem. She did not break her wudu. I broke my wudu. But if we shake hands like this, then both of us break our wudu. Because batinul kaf. That is where it has to be. That has to touch. Yeah? And of course, the touch that arouses or the touch that all of that is of course not only haram, but it also breaks the wudu. Now, remember that touching your own private part, front or back, will break your wudu. Yes? You know that? Yes? Everybody knows? If you touch your private part, front or back, it breaks your wudu. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, or if one of you come from al-gha'it, that means they've gone and they passed excrement, then that is the location where you relieve yourself. This is what you need to do.
I think the touching private part sometimes by mistake, I think it has to be palm. I think.
It's palm. Yeah, it has to be palm. Yeah, remember. Sorry. Yeah, jazakallah khair. So touching is palm. Huh? Not like so. Private part like this is not touching. This is touching. Always remember, this is touching. I mean, it's grabbing if you wish, or okay. That's what it is. Jazakallah khair.
Is intention or without intention?
That has nothing to do with it. There is no intention involved in this. You touch it, it's done. Yes. That's not touching. Okay? You have to hold it. Okay? The what? Sorry again. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. There are exceptions in Al-Haram. There are Al-Haram, especially because of Tawaf and Sa'i and the problems there and the closeness of people. There are exceptions specifically for that. But I was more focused on outside Al-Haram. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. That's a very good point. So when you're doing Tawaf, etc., you might actually touch someone by mistake, intentional or not intentional. Yeah, you have to touch it with the palm, with this area. There. Yeah, that's the palm. باطن, they call it in fiqh باطن الكف. So this is the kaf, this is the batin here. Yes. That's shaking like this, this for not for Hanafi. Not for Hanafi. Hanafi no.
Touching finger, no.
No, yeah. But for Shafi'i, Maliki, and Hanbali, yes. That shaking breaks the wudu. But Hanafis, no. Hanafis say the breaking the wudu is intercourse. They take it from the ayah of the Quran. إِذَا لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاء. They take لَامَسْتُم. In Arabic, the word لَامَسْتُم could mean multiple things. So Imam Abu Hanifa took one opinion of what it meant. Yes, please.
What if you use like 50% of your part?
Think about it like this. If you're going to go to the toilet, you're going to touch your part. Okay? So in which case you're going to have to make wudu anyway. But if you are in your room on your own, you're trying to wear your clothes, you're trying to put your pants on, and you have to pull up. That's different. We're talking about, imagine, sorry to do this, like that, this. That is touching. So if you say, I just did this to move it out of the way, that's not touching. Okay? Okay. All right. بالتفصيل. Okay. So this is the exception about sleeping, and I mentioned already the points about sleep, and so if you the key thing about sleep is losing control. If you just doze off just a little bit like that, because if I just go back here, there's a very important hadith. Yes, I don't know if you can see this bottom one here. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam basically said, one is not to re-perform wudu unless he hears a sound or smells a smell. No doubt in the matter. Oh, did I not? Don't allow that to come in your head. Yeah, so what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that unless you hear yourself, you hear the sound of gas, yeah, or you smell, because sometimes it's quiet, not loud. We say between zart and fisa. Yeah. So this is what is in Arabic. So basically, what we talk, if you don't hear it, and if you don't smell it, don't doubt yourself. You have to either heard it or smelt it, or someone says to you, "I think you did something." Yeah.
Let's just refresh it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So the thing is, unless you do, because Rasulullah ﷺ says, do not re-perform. You don't have to. Okay. Some of us sometimes we do. Okay, I'll go to the toilet. I will make sure I clean myself and I'll do wudu again. Okay. All right. So that was the point about sleep. Okay. So in terms of sleeping, it is about the loss of control, loss of your mind. Because Rasul says, رُفِعَ الْقَلَمُ عَنْ ثَلَاثٍ. 3 people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has lifted the pen from them. That means Allah has forgiven them. Al-Majnoon, the madman. Okay? Al-Na'im, the one who is asleep until he wakes up. Al-Na'im حتى يفيق أو يستيقظ. And the third one is Al-Ghulam حتى يبلغ. The child until he reaches the age. So those 3, the pen is lifted. Allah does not account them. Which one? The second one. So the second one was the first one was المجنون حتى يعقل, the mad, and then the second one was النائم حتى يفيق, the one who's asleep till he wakes up. So sometimes you're very tired. Okay, it comes to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You've had a very long day. You've been working since Fajr, since 5 o'clock. 4:30. You wake up. You go. You pray Dhuhr. 2, 3 o'clock. You're tired. I'm going to sleep a little bit. I'll go and pray Asr. You sleep. You don't wake up till Maghrib. There is nothing against you. You have to make up the salah. Some fuqaha would say, yes, but these days we have phones, we have alarms, we can tell somebody in the house to wake you up. Sometimes you're so tired, they wake you up 10 times, you don't. Did you wake me up? Yes, of course. We came 3 times, you didn't wake up. Okay? So this is an issue. And that is, we've been forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because the pen is lifted. We're not held accountable for that. Because we are in total loss of our control, because we are in deep sleep. And so the exception, of course, when that happens, whether you're sleeping on your side, whether you're sleeping on your face, whether you're sleeping on your back, whether you're sleeping standing up, you have to redo your wudu. The only exception that I mentioned earlier on is that if you're actually sitting down on your bum, so sometimes you sleep, you put your back against the wall, and you sleep for 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to just catch a bit of it. That, as I mentioned, is an exception to the rule regarding that. So,
Actually, I didn't know that. It's other evidence that Allah how merciful.
Allah is merciful. Allah is merciful. And Rasulullah says, "Inna ad-deen yusr," that this religion is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it easy for people to follow it and to adhere to it. And it makes it easier for us to perform all of the rituals that we need to perform for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we talked about already about nullifying the wudu, and we mentioned that it is the excrement, front, back. Yeah.
What about the third one? Kids.
Children, yes.
Children. Is certain age or
Until they reach the age when the first semen comes out. Okay, when the first mani comes out, then khalas. They are called, in Sharia, they're called baligh. They've reached that age. They are now accountable. No, it depends. Some could be 9, some could be 12, sometimes can be 15, sometimes it's late. It really depends from one individual to the other. But it is known. Al-bulugh is known. Is when they actually pass semen. And you will see, a child will in the middle of the night while they're asleep, they will pass semen. That is their age. Yeah? By the way, don't be shy. Okay? This is Sharia. This is for us so we can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to know all of this. Yeah. So, now, ghusl. So when is ghusl required? Tell me.
You're in a state of impurity.
Yeah, but what type of impurity? Not najasa. Not najasa. Najasa is urine and stools and gas, does not require ghusl. What requires? What is it? What needs to happen for you to be obligated to do ghusl? Yeah, so this is the passing of of semen. Okay, so mani has to come out. Okay, and mani doesn't only come out through sexual relation with your wife. Yeah, mani could come to you in your sleep. It could be passed. Sometimes it could just pass as you're walking in the street. It could just pass. Okay, it can happen. Don't be ashamed of it. This is natural, human. It can happen. So when that happens, then that is the requirement for ghusl, obligatory ghusl. The ghusl obligatory, not the sunnah. The sunnah is Jum'ah, Eid, that's sunnah ghusl. But this is the obligatory one, so that you can come back into a state of purity, and then you can, because even if you have passed semen, you cannot even read Quran. You cannot listen to Quran because you are impure. Okay? Okay. And then who has to do this ghusl? Huh? All Muslims. Yes. Yes. So all Muslims, whether men or women, huh? Because women, when they have their monthly cycle, their monthly period, they have to wait until it's finished. They need to do ghusl. Women, when after they finish the 40 days after giving birth, then they also have to do ghusl to come back to do salah and to fast, etc., and all that. Men is after sexual relation or passing the semen. Now, sexual relation does not require you to pass semen. The sexual relation itself is sufficient that you have to do obligatory ghusl. Some people have the mistake that I did not pass urine, I did not pass semen, I don't have to do ghusl. No. Because why? Who knows the evidence? Who knows the evidence? Yeah, but who do you know what it is? Okay, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إذا التقى الختانان وجب الغسل أنزل أم لم ينزل. If the two parts meet, then ghusl is obligatory whether there was ejaculation or there wasn't. Yeah? So you still have to do all of that. This is a Sharia condition and something that has to be done. So who performs it is anybody who has gone into the state of impurity, whether they pass the urine or pass the semen, ejaculation, semen comes out or not, they still have to, if they have a sexual relation. If there is no sexual relation involved, then it has to be that the semen has passed. Okay? Now, how is ghusl done? Anybody know? How is ghusl? Anybody know the conditions of ghusl? How is it done? How is it done? It's not just putting water on your head. Yes. Okay, so before wudu, what do you need to do?
Say shahada.
Before. So niyyah first, and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and then no, clean the place. The part that passed the semen, that needs to be washed. And then you go into wudu. So you do normal wudu, and then you start washing. So how do you start the washing? From the head. From the head, and then no, before the whole body. The sunnah. Exactly. The right half. Make sure that the water passes through all the right side. Then you go to the left side and make sure the water passes through all the left side. Now, there is ikhtilaf whether that means that you don't need wudu afterwards.
Because you're doing wudu as you go in.
Exactly. So you've done wudu before you've done ghusl, therefore you're still impure. So therefore you need wudu for salah after ghusl. Okay?
One question.
Yeah.
Someone is Only the shower, huh? Is it like a short time? Is it?
Yeah, it's fine. But they need to make sure that the water goes onto their body.
Yeah.
So they need to kind of maybe pull the short pant and wash properly so that the water permeates into your skin. Yeah? So the water has to touch your skin. Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab, his piety, his belief was so deep that he understood the meaning that Allah is with you everywhere. That whenever he was to do ghusl, he used to cover himself because he's so scared that he does not want to be naked when Allah is looking. Yeah? So he used to wash himself and protect himself. So, yes, you can do it, but make sure that the water touches your body so that you perform the proper ghusl. Yes, please. Yes. Yes, yes, that will do it. Because the others are sunnah. The condition is that the obligation is that water goes from your head to your toes. Yeah. The other is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. We have to understand what is obligatory, what is sunnah, and of course because we do this as a worship, as a ibadah, so we do the sunnah to get more reward. Yes, it's yeah, but it's still as long as it removes the impurity. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about the removing of najas. So when do we need to remove najas? When we've gone to the toilet, past urine, past excrement. Yeah, we need to do that. Correct? So that is, we need to remove that. So we need to wash our private part, front and back. Okay? If there is blood, we need to wash it off our clothes or wash it off our hand. If, for example, we have, maybe you cut your hand and you have stitches and therefore you cannot put water on it, you can do masah on that part and then wash the rest. Yeah? You know that? This is how merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. So anybody who goes to the toilet, or if you are actually helping your child clean themselves and the urine or the stools, the excrement comes on your hands, then you have to do wudu. Yeah? Remember father's parents? Okay. You must. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And how is it performed? There are two ways. How is removing najas? There are two ways. One is with water, correct? And the other one, if there is no water, how do we remove it? Not tayammum. Yes, but what is it called? No, no. It's called istinja. Istinja is, you could use tissue paper, you could use paper, you could use a rock, you could to wipe off the dirt, either the excrement, and even that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, find a rock that is round, don't find something that's sharp so it cuts you. All of these things Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about to actually give us an explanation of how it's done. So if there is no water, you can wipe with a tissue, or you could wipe with a stone or with paper to remove, but you have to make sure that you removed as much as possible.
Like mud as well, isn't it? Piece of hard mud.
No, that's not. I've not seen that. Paper or a rock. Yeah, paper or rock, but not mud.
Mud is a hard type.
Yeah, if it's hard type, yes, maybe. Yeah. Okay. maybe.
Leaf? A big leaf?
Yes, a big leaf. You could use that. As long as you don't use, be careful, huh? Not nettles, huh? Or you'll be in trouble. Leaf from a tree. Yes, you can use that.
This is the only baby, cleaning the baby.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to,
If you touch it, yes.
normally they can use the wipes.
But the wipes,
If you touch this,
yeah.
most of mom, they can.
Yeah. But these days they wear gloves. These days they wear gloves. Yeah.
What if you're in a desert and
Then you can use the sand in the desert to then make the wudu. Sorry, was there a question there? No? Okay. Right. We come to the final two things, which is about the hair that we must remove. Armpits and al-ana, which is pubic hair. That has to be removed. The condition is that it cannot be longer than 40 days. The sunnah is to remove it every Friday before Jama'ah. And that hair has to be removed. Once you reach the age and you've become now a baligh, and therefore the obligations of Sharia are upon you, you have to remove that hair. And that hair has to be removed either the direct sunnah is for the armpits is to do natf, which is to use like wax that pulls it out. Yeah, that is the sunnah. But you can use a blade. Okay, the fuqaha in modern days they have said you can use a shaving blade for shaving the armpit. Okay, originally it is the fact in the origin is it is natf. That means they have to be taken out so they don't grow back again that fast. But you can use shaving also because the intention is to remove the hair. Okay? And of course, then there it is the hair that is just below your belt, where your belt goes, between that and between your private part, that hair needs to be removed. Okay? And as long as you remove it, I mean, these days there are machines that do it with the special gadgets, with the protective head and all that, so you don't cut yourself. Yes, we've cut ourselves many times. And so you can use those machines these days. They do the same job. Okay? And so, as I said, what is it? It's that hair in the armpit and the hair in the below the navel area. Who performs it is every one of us who has reached that age, and therefore now they're obligated to follow the orders of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. How it's performed, I said you can use a blade to shave, or you can use a machine these days to do it. Either way, it's fine. That, yes. That, for men, pulling hair in the face and above there, that's not allowed.
Someone is keep the nails longer.
Yeah. Nails every Friday. If you don't, every couple of weeks, they should be cut. Because that is fitrah. That's some of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Sayyidina Ibrahim to do. Cutting the nails. Yeah, the hair up here, yeah. Pulling it like this is not allowed. Shaving, that's fine. I always find it very difficult to explain because some for example, in the Hanbali madhab, it's haram. Shafi'i will tell you it's makruh. And so will Abu Hanifa. So it really depends what opinion you follow.
What about trading? What countries do that with
The what, sorry?
the wool?
The wool, yeah, the threading. Yeah, that's pulling it. So that's makruh. My opinion is it is makruh. It's not haram. But if you follow Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal, that's haram. But if for Shafi'is, it's makruh. Yeah. Okay. But makruh, but look, makruh is not the same as haram. Makruh means it is disliked. Disliked. Okay, so there is no punishment for disliked. Let me explain makruh so everybody understands. Makruh is something that Allah does not like, but He will not punish you if you do it. But if you don't do it for Allah, you get rewarded. Okay? Okay. And as we mentioned, no more than 40 days for the armpits and your private parts. Okay? Great. Most of them have alcohol. So my opinion is no. Okay? And also there are lots of chemicals in them. And I don't really trust them. All of these things that they do are, and then you wonder why there's so much cancer around in the world. All of these creams and stuff like that they add, they're just crazy. It's very easy in the shower, a bit of soap and blade. Within 1 minute you're done. It's quite fast. Or with the machine, it takes about 2 minutes. It's
now most of people, they're using in hospital they are using one is a razor comb.
Yes.
It's called Pickpocket.
Yes.
Pickpocket.
Yeah.
That one is very safe.
Yes.
They're using in the hospital.
Yes.
If it's emergency or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very safe. It is.
So that yellow color one.
Absolutely.
It's very good one.
You're absolutely right. So those are all of the things that I wanted to. Go ahead. Leg hair?
Yeah.
No, not for men. Yeah. You shouldn't, because then you're trying to. You're trying to imitate a woman. You're trying to imitate women, basically, which is not.
You said about Shafi and Hanbali.
Yeah.
What about Hanafi?
Hanafi, I'll have to look it up. I can't remember now. I don't want to say so. The books are there. I'll check it now. After we finish, I can go and check Fiqh Sunnah. Any other questions? Anything I missed that you wanted to know? Parents, is there anything on your mind that you wanted me to ask or say or talk about that I did not cover?
About hair.
Yes. Now this is Rizq's favorite question. The hair, where you actually do your hair and then people sometimes shave a little bit and they leave a little bit, that is called qaza'. And qaza' is something that Rasulullah rejected. So we should not. When you get somebody who they do their hair and they do shave one part and then they leave hair at the top, so it looks like shaved here and then. أيوة.
New style.
Yeah, new styles. The Rasul says that whomever imitates a people, he says, do not imitate the Jews and the Christians. Whoever imitates them is like them.
Are men allowed to have braids?
Braids. I'm just trying to think. I'll have to check, because I am sure braids are not modern. Braids have been there for a long time. But I'll have to check.
It said Prophet Muhammad had braids.
That's what I want to check. Okay? Let me check for you. Okay? فين مين؟ ليش نسيته؟ لا إن شاء الله تذكره. Any other questions? No, but that's different. That's not what he was talking about. He was talking that Rasulullah braided his own hair because he had long hair. Yeah. اوكي يس اوكي يلا جزاكم الله خير وبارك الله فيكم. ابو ذهبي has brought you some food. I will try and find. I will get the plate. كانوا يشتروا صحون ثانيين مش معنا، هذا مش كفايه هذا.